Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Father Talks podcast. Today, I am joined with my special guest, Mr. Dave Maldonado. Dave, hopefully I got that right.
Pretty close. Pretty
All
close.
right. Okay. Well, Dave, hey, welcome to the show, man. I am honored and it is an absolute privilege to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, man. Good to be here. This is a departure from the ones
Yeah.
I've done.
Okay.
And this is not a subject we get to talk about much unless you have a few close friends, confidants, things like that. We don't get to
Right.
discuss these kind of things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. And that's the thing, as I was telling you offline, I'm I'm solely trying to give a platform for men to talk, to find some understanding because a lot of people don't realize that, suicide among men is really on the rise, because the way men carry the weight of the world, a lot of times, and we don't talk to anybody about it. We just,
Yeah.
no matter what's going on, we don't talk,
Right.
and oftentimes it's because we don't have a safe space to talk, or when we do talk, we end up if we I'll just say that sometimes when we talk about our issues, it could be an issue in our marriage, issues in our relationships. We have conversations with our significant other, and we end up apologizing for hurting our significant other's feelings because of the way we feel, you know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and then what does that do? That makes you retreat even further because now you don't want to talk about anything because you didn't solve your situation before your problem before, and
Yeah.
all it did was cause a ripple between you and your significant other.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's really what the basis of the show is to, you know, give men an opportunity to talk about whatever's going on in their life and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Good, man. Yeah, it's needed. It's needed for sure.
yeah,
I'm grateful to have a couple of close friends that I can pretty much, with any issue I have, I can go to them, no
yeah.
matter what. But not everybody has that. You know.
Right, and most men and that's the thing, even most men, we have close friends, and we still don't even tell them, the deepest issues that we're having. I had a guest about a month ago. He's been friends with a guy since high school. They've been friends over 25 years, and he did not know that his friend's marriage was so bad. So when he heard that they was getting a divorce, he was shocked that, the relationship had gotten to that point already. He never knew anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. And there's always a few things that we always keep. The only person you can talk to is a therapist, maybe, where
Yeah,
you bear everything. Um,
right.
but yeah, there's something going on. I know I have a couple of friends, but there's always those couple of little, peccadillos that you only share with that one person that you're paying,
Exactly.
$150 or whatever. So yeah.
Hey, I understand, trust me, I've had my share of, therapy, being coming from the military and that most primarily, but I've learned I'm getting better with conversation and understanding that, some things I need to let out because if I don't, the stress is gonna kill me,
Yeah,
and
and
I find
I think you know, it's very difficult for men to ask for help. You know what I
yes.
mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because we're taught not to. We
yeah,
can handle it.
yeah. It's you don't want to seem weak. You want to be the prototypical strong man. Um, but what I've learned is that's what takes the most courage
Right.
is to realize that you know what, there's a couple of things that I'm really having trouble with. I can't handle it. um, and whether it's a men's group or something through the church or whatever, um, you reach out to those people and take advantage of those resources, because that's the only way that things are going to get better. You're going to maybe try to figure out what the problem is, how to solve it, and
Exactly.
that's how we set an example for our kids, that it's okay to be weak, with certain aspects, and try to get some help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for I think this is great for especially for the audience to, see somebody like you even acknowledging that you have your own struggles. Us average guys are you're thinking that these are just me problems, that nobody else will understand. But we all go through it no matter where we are, in our life or in our careers or whatever have you. We
Yeah.
all go this similar situation.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And a lot of us, you look like you got it all together.
Yeah,
A lot of people look at me from the outside. Dude's got it made.
yeah,
He's got it all figured out. He's successful. Um, but yeah, they don't see, they don't see the sleepless nights, the different things that we're going through.
right.
They just see the success, So it's taken me a while to kind of share those things and be like, look, I don't have it all together. I make mistakes. I have, you know, really bad anxiety sometimes, and I've had it my whole life, So,
Right.
and despite that, I've been able to, you know, have some success in life, but it was all a work in progress. You know what I mean?
And I think that speaks volumes to your own character, that you can, admit it without, without a problem,
Yeah.
and for me, even somebody like me, hearing that, I'm like, it's not just me, you know.
Yeah.
So moving forward, so as you know, I've been doing some reading up on you and everything. So one of my first questions, you grew up in South Louisiana, excuse me, far from
Yeah.
Hollywood. What did that environment teach you about being a man before acting ever entered your life?
Well, it was the 70s and 80s, and it was South Louisiana, very very working class.
Okay,
Um, so there weren't any safe spaces. Like they have today. When I talk about with a therapist or whoever about talking about getting bullied and stuff like that, they're
right,
like blown away. They're like, oh man, that's terrible. I'm like, yeah, doesn't everybody? It doesn't that happen to everybody? If you weren't bullied, you were probably the bully. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's like, and everybody in this little group that I was talking about, they're all like, yeah, it happened. And it's terrible, but
yeah,
sometimes it's a part of life and it needs to happen and it helps you grow into the man you're going to be. Now
exactly,
sometimes it can be really really awful and it can really uh, be something you don't come back from. But hopefully you make those decisions and you do things in your life to be better, to be stronger. But yeah, it was and I was a I was a kind of a target for bullies growing up. I was
okay,
First of all, I had a Hispanic last name, and I was extremely pale. You know, I was a pale Latino, basically.
right,
Really, really, really thin, kind of sickly, glasses. All that stuff. Health problems. Um, Anything that you can go wrong with your head. It's like
right,
glasses, teeth, headgear, all that stuff. And of course, my sister picked the nerdiest 70s glasses you could possibly pick. She
wow,
was just like, I want him to get his ass kicked. So let's pick those glasses. So and I was also I was pigeon breasted. I don't know if you know what that means. It's
mm-mm.
basically there's a bone in the middle of your chest that kind of protrudes.
Okay, okay,
So I was born with that, and I was pale, and I was really skinny. So pretty much my whole childhood, I didn't want to take my shirt off. So anytime someone's like,
right,
"Oh, we're gonna have a pool party," I'm like, "Yeah," or we're playing basketball, shirts and skins. I'm like, please don't make me be skins. Which is basically why I started lifting weights. I'm like, I
yeah,
need to do something to this chest so that it's not so noticeable. So yeah, and I mean, it was a working class, like I said, blue collar. You basically figured it out as you went. You know what I mean? And as far as
right,
being from the Cajun culture, um, all the way back to when the Acadians were expelled from Nova Scotia by the British,
okay,
scattered all over the United States. Not in the United States, but we basically scattered and had to fend for ourselves and figure it out. You know, and that's what my culture, South Louisiana, has been doing ever since. So
right,
a lot of pride in bootstraps and living off the land and stuff like that. So just being able and do it yourself. If there's a job
right,
to be done, my father-in-law is like there's all these do it yourself projects all over the house. Half of them look like Homer Simpson did it, but he's like, hey, I did it myself. You know what I mean? So it's
same
like
here, same here,
I was like, I didn't get that gene. I'm not a super handy guy. I've got a couple of projects around the house that I'm pretty proud of, but most of the time I'm like, yeah, it's like, should we spend the money or should we figure it out? My wife's an engineer, so
okay,
between the two of us,
huh,
our right and left brain we can kind of come together and figure out almost
and
anything.
figure something out.
Um, so, and she's from South Louisiana too, so it's a pretty good combination.
Outstanding. Now, how long have you and your wife been married?
Since '99, so 25 years or so.
Ooh, congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you.
And long marriages, man, they're fewer and far between nowadays. So congratulations to you. Obviously, you guys are doing something right.
Yeah, man, it wasn't easy. We've had our struggles, plus,
Right.
with career and family, and we'll get to career later, but
Yeah,
there was a lot of
sure.
compromise and a lot of sacrifice that we had to, a lot of give and take, and a lot of, our different parenting styles,
Right.
her trying to handle something one way, me wanting to do it another way, and us trying to meet in the middle. And it's kind of a role reversal for us because she's left brain, so she's more of a kind of a traditional taskmaster. Rub some
Yeah.
dirt on it, all that kind of stuff. And I'm artsy. I want to. It's like, is something wrong? Let's try to figure out what the problem is, and let's talk about it.
Right.
Like, and it's a good balance and a good compromise that we have raising kids.
Yeah.
So
And you know what though, and I find that most of my successful marriages, people that I talk to, it is built around a lot of compromise.
yeah,
My wife she is a more relaxed personality. She doesn't get too upset about most things. The kids can run through the house. My son back in the day, he took a permanent marker, drew all over the wall. You know,
yeah,
and granted, I was deployed at the time, but she showed me it. I'm like, "Oh my god, this kid." She's like, "Oh, no, it's not that serious, kids are gonna be kids." I'm like, "How are you always so calm about everything?" Okay. My daughter, I was out teaching her to drive. She blew a tire. I had a heart attack, because one, where I'm teaching her to drive at is way out in the woods and whatnot. So I'm stranded out there for a little bit. Everybody comes
yeah,
back. My wife is so calm. I'm like, "Hey, there's coyotes and wolves out here, so we gotta get this tire changed sooner than later." You know? And she's like, "Oh, I'll get the kids, we'll bring them back. We'll get it done, no worries." I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh." So,
yeah.
yeah.
See, I'm more of a level headed as far as like when there's a problem. Now, granted, I have had problems in my life where I completely was unraveling. Um, and really there was nothing seriously going wrong. But if there's
Right.
like our toilet, the connection to the wall, the water hose, we just got in the house, we heard water running. So we're like,
Uh-huh.
where's that coming from? And there was water spraying all over the bathroom, and it's like immediately I kind of like, okay, let's find this is very, very left brain thing, even though I'm right brain.
Right.
Like, okay, well, let's be calm. Let's find the problem. Let's neutralize it. And my wife is just like, what's happening? I'm like, well, that's not going to help anything. Let's just. So I go to the toilet and I turn off the water. I'm like, all right, that's fixed. Let's move on to this next problem. You know, and that's usually her position is like,
Right.
let's fix it. Whatever it is, she can't stand the thing in movies where something happens and the woman is like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do now?" I think Reese Witherspoon had a where she was speaking at an event and she was like, "Have you ever heard a woman that says that?" Like she's like, "Okay, there's a problem. What are we gonna do? Let's fix it. Let's." And she's very task oriented. She's
Right.
she's I have a few pairs of pants, but she has more pants than I do. So,
Hey,
um,
but
yeah,
it worked for you guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's. I'm really proud of the way our kids turned out. I have two kids, both at A&M. One is getting ready to graduate. She's 21, and I have a freshman. My son is there as well. Early on, when they were little, I would stay at home with them. My wife was working. I would work at night,
Uh-huh.
but it was more like just a job to kind of keep busy.
Right.
She was the breadwinner early on. So, and there was some I don't call it shame, but there was some. I was insecure about that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not being the man going to work every day and providing for his family. But she kind of knew what she was getting into. It's like you're marrying a guy who's got a general studies degree who wants to pursue acting.
Right.
This is not going to be a stable occupation for a while, and it's more stable now. And I've been able to uh, you know, get some success and provide more. But what I'm really proud of is all that time that I spent with my kids when they were little, doing things with them, spending time with them. um, that's a huge part of who they became. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're so proud of the two of them. Not only that with their academics and how well they do in school, but just them as people. You know, they're just really kind, compassionate, really bright uh, kids. You know, young adults, and I know I had a lot to do with that, just with their emotional stability and the way
Right.
the way they interact with people.
And that's also and that's outstanding because I mean, we don't often get a chance to spend a lot of time with our kids. I've been the stay-at-home parent for a little while. Then I was back to work. Then my wife was the stay-at-home parent, and we've been able to really stay involved with our kids, and all of them have turned out pretty good.
Yeah,
I can't complain. I passed some generational issues on to my kids, but those are things that actively as a father, I'm still working on today.
yeah,
So I just try to continue to be better every day.
yeah,
So
yeah, man. It's. I think we're all flawed. We're all nobody's perfect. So the things
exactly.
that I've gone through, I'll be sober for 2 years in
Congratulations.
June. Thank you. Um, but that was a real struggle for me, and at the time, I was like, I felt pretty worthless. You know what I mean? But I was able to get through it, and I was able to kind of reach out for help and get the help I needed, and kind of
Right,
the and they saw that. You know what I mean? They saw how I was struggling and how weak I felt, but they also
right.
saw me come out on the other side of that. So I think anything that we encounter, all of our flaws. I don't know if you know Inky Johnson. He's a
Mm,
played football at Tennessee. Uh,
okay.
he's a public speaker now, but he got
Yes.
paralyzed.
Yeah, he got paralyzed. Yep.
Right arm got paralyzed, and now he's a motivational speaker. And he's got a great presentation where he talks about all of my problems are specifically designed for me, you know,
Right,
and everything that I've gone through is specifically designed for me so that I can trust God and get through it and help other people and be a better version of myself. So um,
wow.
I think that's the kind of the message I want them to take away from that.
Let's see, I can tell you right now, I had my struggles with alcohol for a brief moment, after my deployment, and my wife helped me out quite a bit, and I think I realized earlier than most people that I had an issue, and now while granted, I did not get any official help because I didn't
Mhm.
want the military to find out about it.
Right,
So, but me and my wife work together, and now if I drink, I've never drunk in front of my children, or at least not getting fall down drunk in front of my
right.
kids. That's one thing I've been pretty fortunate. But I did find myself drinking a lot. I mean, early in the morning,
Mhm.
before I was heading out to work, everything.
Yeah,
So I understand. I can't say I understand everybody's struggle because all of ours is different, but kudos to you that, hey, 2 years sober, whether it's 2 years or 2 months, congratulations.
yeah.
It's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you. And being from South Louisiana, it's a huge part of the culture. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
you're having a crawfish ball, a barbecue, anything like that, any kind of celebration, that's a priority. What do
Yeah.
we get to drink? What are we going to do? So that took a lot of
Yeah.
adjustment.
I know.
I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
So,
so yeah, and thankfully my kids seem to be they partake a little bit here and there, but they both seem to be
right.
very. I mean, I started really early. I started when I was in middle school, so uh,
Okay.
they didn't really drink through high school. I drank all through high school, just on the weekends because uh, couldn't drink during the week because you had football
Right.
practice and you had to do your thing and you had to but yeah, so it was instilled in us early on. Taking sips of dad's beer when he's playing cards, stuff like that was just
Yeah.
common. So, but yeah, everybody's different. It affects everybody differently. Whatever you got going on, if you got any kind of issues with mental health and you take a couple drinks and they go away,
Yeah.
that's
You
a
go right back to it.
dangerous thing.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then the next day they just come back twice as bad. So you're looking for that drink to kind of alleviate. So it takes a lot of work to develop some kind of a system to deal with all that without alcohol. and
Right.
it's a process, man. It takes some time.
So let's move forward a little bit. You built this over 20 years. Was there ever a moment where you honestly thought this might not work out for you?
All the time, all the time, every day to this day. I thought that 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Because it's for me, it's not like I got all these jobs lined up, and it's not like I'm making 10 million a picture. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's I'm I'm not a name actor. Anytime I'm working, I'm always looking for the next thing. You hear, Hollywood actors say like, yeah, every time I finish a job, I'm like, I'm never going to work again. It's like, well, you got, 50 million in the bank. So it's like, not a huge deal for you. But for me, it's like, I'm always looking for that next opportunity, trying to get more
Right.
visibility. So yeah, all the time because it's not, I'm confident in what I bring to the table. I think I've got a gift,
Yeah.
for what I do. I learned kind of late in life. In college is when I kind of gravitated toward it because in Louisiana, it's not something that anybody does. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's it's a pipe dream. Once I decided that that's what I was going to do and I was good at it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go all in on this career and do everything I can to be successful. Yeah, it's not a stable. There's all so many things that are out of your control. You can be
Right.
the best actor out there, give the best audition as anybody who came in that day, but they decide, well, we're going to make that a woman instead,
Right.
or these things, or a person of color, or somebody shorter. It's like all of these
Yeah.
things. So for me, like all you can do, and that's a learning process that's taken me 20 years to learn, but it's all you can control is what is the work itself and what you bring and your commitment to it. Um,
Yeah.
and then you got to let it go. Um,
Yeah.
you really, yeah,
Well, I don't want to say that you're a nobody because I've seen you in several movies, and I'm good at remembering people. I don't always remember names, but like I remember you in the Tomorrow War. A lot of people don't know you were in that. The
yeah,
Purge. You
oh,
know, for me, even being able to have this conversation with you, you know, like I'm like, wait a second, I seen that dude in a bunch of stuff. You know, so it's always exciting for me because even having this conversation, I'm like, I figured, hey, he's gonna be, you know, super, maybe conceited, but just a down to earth ass guy, and we don't get to see that a lot,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So you were just a struggling dad like the rest of us, you're doing the best you can for your kids and your family, you know, and that is what more men need to see is that,
yeah.
hey, we all put our pants on the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and now I'm extremely fortunate to
Right.
have worked as much as I have, especially in the Southeast. I'm not in LA or New York. I live
Okay.
in Houston, so but it's just really good timing, kind of a perfect storm with the Southeast and how busy it is. But
Right.
look, I mean, just to be able to work this much in this area is there are a lot of odds that are being defied, me
Okay.
doing that, and I understand that, but I also, I'm realistic about it. It's not like they're beating down my door and my phone's ringing off the hook. I'm
Right.
still having to prove myself every time, I audition. Thankfully, I made a lot of contacts, and a lot of important people know who I am, which is great.
Right.
But yeah, still got to kind of be on my toes and kind of keep progressing, keep improving.
And listen, as with anything, that you're passionate about, you continue to work at it, just like it's like being a father. There's no end of being a dad. There's no end of, "Hey, my job's done." You're always going to be that, but you're always trying to be better, than you were before.
Yeah,
I know me as a father, there are so many things that, I wish I had done better. I wish I had been more a part of, but with the acting and all that, you seem to be well grounded, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Hey, hey, I've gotten all this work, but I know I still need to continue to get better.
yeah,
I still need to continue to work because I'm busy, but not quite where I want to be at just yet.
yeah,
And it's great to see this side, to see this side of you because again, like I said, before this interview, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for this. This I listen, man, I'm telling you, I I put on more deodorant before this interview. I'm like, "Wait a second, why are you putting on deodorant? He can't smell you. You're in a room by yourself, guy." But like I said, it took me a little bit, but I'm trying to get better at this podcasting thing. I'm blessed to have you on, and sharing this conversation. Again, like I said, I want to reiterate again that, men need to see this humble side of another man, and even though you may be in a better position than some of us, you are still a guy who puts his pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's something that goes back to my upbringing as well.
Right.
Just I'm my whole thing is authenticity. I don't.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend to be somebody I'm not. I'm not going to try to impress you. Uh, if I hate the term networking as a
Right.
verb. I've never liked that term. I think if you're going to go to an event to make connections, try to make real connections with people, like on a human
Right.
level, on a spiritual level, connect with somebody, and I think that's how real relationships are built. Um, if you're trying to get something from me, then and I'm not going to try to impress you. And if you're trying to impress me, no patience for that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if somebody's trying to show me how important they are, or show me what kind of car they drive, or any of that, I'm like, look, man, it's like, yeah, I'm not down with that. Just
Yes.
talk to me like a real person, and like a human being, and be authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's big for
We
me.
can't and we can't ask for more, because real conversations is a lost art. Like even so much as a handshake, you
Yeah,
know, my dad taught me that the importance of a handshake. My grandfather reiterated, shaking a man's hand, you look a man in the eye, shake his hand, that is your word. That was the only contract that we needed,
yeah,
for things. And that is an authenticity that, I try to teach my kids, you know, be real with people, because even you don't even get a chance to make, a second impression on people. So that first impression, you want it to be right. I wasn't one of those dads who was okay with his sons leaving the house with their butts hanging out. Like, boy, get on the belt or don't leave this house,
yeah.
because you represent me when you leave here.
Right.
That I don't, it just, that don't fly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
I get it.
so
I
let's,
get it.
let's, I got to ask about sinners because people will beat me over the head if I don't.
Can't
So
believe you talked to this guy for an hour and you didn't ask him about sex.
yeah, didn't ask him about sinners. Yeah. But even in sinners, I recognized you from other movies. I was like, holy shit. So what, what was sinners like for you?
Well, let's see. For me, when I show up to set and I'm getting ready to work on something, I'm all about the
Mhm.
work and I'm all about doing a good job. And there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with that. There's a lot of overwhelm. Movie
Yeah.
sets, especially ones like that, hundreds of people all over the
Right.
place. You got a camera guy, you got a mic, you got Michael B. Jordan standing across from you, and they say action, and they're all looking at you, waiting for you to screw up. You know what I mean? But look, man, I couldn't have asked for a better director and a better, um, leading man to alleviate that
Right.
anxiety and that stress. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen interviews with with Ryan Coogler. I mean, he's such a chill, very very chill. When he talks to you, and I think he could tell. He was feeding.
Mhm.
He was like, all right, when I made a mistake, I was beating myself up, and he's like, no, no, man, it's good, it's good. We went a little too fast. We're gonna do this. I want you to look there, and I want you to do this. And he gave me the freedom and relax me a little bit. And that's the only way you can really give your best performance, if you're confident,
Right.
relaxed, and people believing in you. And he was just so cool, and make cracking jokes, and a super super gracious, brilliant, brilliant guy. And Mike B. Jordan, he's just feel goofy saying Michael B. Jordan every time I talk about him, but I feel goofy saying, yeah, Mike, yeah,
Yeah.
he got me on speed dial. But yeah, I was so impressed with both these guys. Mike
Yeah.
was he's such a talented guy. Both these guys have so much pressure on them to get this movie made.
Right.
Mike plays twins. There's all these complicated shots. It's a movie. When I saw it later, I'm like, wow, this has never been done before. It's never been done the way he did it, in the history of
Right.
film. Um, record Oscar nominations for this thing. So, we're in the Louisiana heat, got all these complicated shots. Mike's playing twins. They're under a deadline to get this thing made and to get it right.
Okay.
Uh, I never saw either one of them lose their patience with anybody, have an unkind word for anybody. Um, Mike is in between takes. We're just talking it up, chatting, talking about our family, making jokes, that kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, and that was how they treated everybody on set.
right.
Which to me, that's what impressed me the most about them as men. That
Right.
they're incredible artists, and what they were able to accomplish is an incredible feat. But just them as men was really impressive to me. Those guys.
Outstanding. So, was there anything that made you like, I don't know, like were you was there ever a point in the film where like, oh, you know what? Let me say after the film because you play a clan member, okay, and oftentimes people see somebody on film and then they identify with them with that as that character.
Yeah.
So, did anybody ever like treat you poorly because you played a clan member? Because people sometimes forget that
Yeah.
it's just act.
Yeah, and I've played some pretty despicable people.
Right.
I think the people that have seen the stuff I've done and they recognize me from it, uh, they know the distinction. I just think that
Okay.
there's some people that see me and they're not sure who I am. I look
Okay.
familiar, and maybe subconsciously they're like, yeah, this is not a good guy. I don't know who he is, but that guy over at the leg press machine, yeah, he's not a
Yeah.
good guy. But I got a lot of people coming up to me, saying like, "Were you that guy?" I was like, "Yeah, that was me." And it was, a lot of great feedback from people.
Good.
But I mean, obviously, I look. That's the thing. I look a lot different from project to project. So I don't ever look like this when I'm doing a
Right.
movie. I don't have a hat on. I don't wear glasses. Sometimes I have a goatee, but that's so usually I just get a lot of strange looks, like just kind of people staring. And then I'm like, why is this guy looking at me? I'm like, oh, maybe he recognized me for something, or maybe he just doesn't like me. I don't know. So yeah, it's I take it as joke. I love. Uh, I haven't been inundated with people coming up to me, so maybe
Right.
in a couple of years I'll have that the benefit of getting annoyed with that. But I love it. I love it when people come up to me and
Right.
recognize me and
Hey,
stuff.
hey, that's outstanding. So, all right. When you step into something as big as Sinners, does the pressure change or is it still the same internal fight?
Yeah, every project to project, I feel like I'm always, there is a little bit of imposter syndrome that's going on,
Right.
and the thing about this career is every time I go to work, it's with lots of new people and lots
Mhm.
of new circumstances. It's not like I'm going into the same office with the same boss,
Right.
with the same coworkers, and I have my job that I do every day. Every situation is different. So, and you have different people, different sensibilities of how people like, you know, how they produce their craft. A different camera guy is going to have a different technique. So
Right.
and I used to do a lot of theater. I loved doing theater. um and I don't do it much anymore because it takes so much time and it doesn't quite pay as much. So
Right.
but the thing about theater, I mean, you can stand on a stage, and if you move 2 feet to the left, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
With a movie, you move 2 feet to the left, cut. Yeah, you were
We're gonna
supposed
go
to
with God.
stand here. So, all the technical intricacies of being in a movie or a TV show, it's a lot more. There's a lot less room for error. But yeah, every time I'm working with new people, hopefully working with a new movie star or TV stars. There's always a little bit of anxiety working with those people, and you know how stars can be. It's like
Right. Well, I
sometimes
don't
they can.
personally know. I have to defer to you.
Most of them are great, but they're
Right.
they're 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 kind of odd creatures, and also they have a ton of pressure on them, and they have a lot more. Usually have a lot more dialogue, a lot more stuff to remember than I do. So it's most of them are great, but yeah, there's always that new sense of wanting to prove myself. And usually when I'm in it, I'm just in it to succeed and try to do the best job and collaborate with the other artists that are out there. I'm not really worried about how the movie's going to work, or taking it all in, and like.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the first day working with Michael, it was actually we shot my death scene first.
Oh,
Which movies and TV we go out of order a lot.
right.
So
Okay.
first day on set, uh, I meet Ryan and we talk a little bit. I don't meet Michael, and he doesn't approach me or anything like that. So the whole time we're doing the scene, he's giving me nothing. He's in it. He's
Right.
completely engulfed. And a lot has happened, at that point. So his brother's a vampire. There's all this other stuff going on. So but we're doing the scene, and he approached me in between one of the takes, and just he was
Mhm.
still in character, but he was just like, "Look, man," I was like, you know, "we don't talk much, but I just want to let you know, you know, I respect you," and he just kind of gave me that kind of stack, kind of
Yeah.
welcoming me while he was in character.
While in
He's like, "Yeah,
character.
we're not talking, man, because we're in the scene, but just I want to let you know that." So that kind of
Oh,
eased me into it a little more. So even though I was about to, call him a bad word,
yeah.
so yeah, it was cool, man. It was, and I had a bunch of friends there that were the stunt team that I had worked with
Okay.
before. So we were all doing those stunts and getting shot and all this stuff, and I got to hang out with them and reconnect with some guys that I had worked with on Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, also a good movie.
yeah, yeah, thank you. I was pretty proud of that one as well. So yeah, you try to take it all in, but mostly you just want to do your job and you want to do it well
Right.
because otherwise,
I mean,
you know, what's the
everything that
point?
I've seen you in, it is, and again, I'm not a guy who would lie to you. If I didn't like something, I would tell you. But everything that I've seen you in so far, I've enjoyed. Um, let's let's move on to fatherhood. I want to make sure that we make this about you as much as possible. So, as a dad, you said boy and girl.
Hmm.
With everything in your career happening, how do you stay grounded as a father? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, early on, they weren't super impressed with what I did. It's like,
Okay.
they're kind of impressed now, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, but Dad, you work with him? That's cool," and it's I did an interview on the red carpet in New York
Okay.
for the premiere, and it was this guy, and I didn't know who any of these people were. I was lucky to be on the red carpet. It took me
Right.
jumping through some hoops to get on the red carpet because they were like, "Who are you?" I was, I went to security. I'm like, and it's Fort Knox. It's like ain't nobody
Yeah.
getting in. So I kind of had to do some convincing. I didn't think to tell them my name, which would have gotten me in
Right.
there. They were just like, well, it's like, well, do you have any credentials? And I had to pull up the IMDb, and I'm like, well, that's me.
Right.
Oh, okay, come on in. But I did an interview with this guy from Letterbox, which
Okay.
is like a media company, I guess. And so I did this interview, and the interview it was like your four favorite movies. So all the stars of the movie got interviewed, and they all said their four favorite movies. Um, so I did mine, and it got shared. And I'm like, oh, there's me getting interviewed with along with the rest of the cast. And my daughter was like, oh, Dad, you on Letterbox? I'm like, yeah, what is that? I don't know what that is. So, and their friends growing up were kind of impressed, and some of them were a little jealous. They're like, "Oh man, your dad has such a cool job, man." It's like, yeah, my friends are a little jealous. I'm like, well, your friends' parents, their dad probably gets a regular paycheck, so it's kind of a you know, it's a give and take. You know what I mean? It's like it's a
Right.
really cool job, but it's not very stable. But yeah, they're
No,
they're
well,
they're very proud of me, and so yeah, that keeps me grounded when I'm at home with them and when we go see them College Station, it's like uh, I'm totally committed to spending time with them and being in the moment with them. So
right.
that keeps me pretty grounded.
Yeah, and that's good. I found that most of most celebrities, the ones who you don't see a lot all over everything,
Hmm.
those seem to be the most those those are the people I find that are in the most long-term marriages. They have the quietest little family, well-grounded kids and everything. And it's not that the actor or actress isn't famous. They're just not always out there in the public eye, for BS and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
you know. And so there's some actors like you don't even know that they have kids or their kids are acting and you don't even know that they're related,
Right.
because everything is so low profile.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You
And I
know?
mean, it's I know it's got to get tough. I just saw an interview with Ben Affleck, and he was talking about
Mhm.
when he gets approached and how he's got this reputation for always being pissed off and always being angry. Um,
Right,
he's like, well, I'm it's like you're always coming up to me when I'm with my kids. It's like if I'm by myself and you see me on the street, whatever, and it's fine. Let's have a conversation, ask me a question, whatever. But he doesn't want his kids exposed to that. And,
right.
and but they don't show you that. All they show is like, oh, look how angry Ben is. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's a those are difficult waters to navigate. You know what I mean? So I don't have that problem yet. For me, I don't necessarily want fame.
right,
Some fortune would be good. I'll take a little bit of fortune. The
right.
fame is like, if you're in the public eye and you're under a microscope, they pick apart everything you do, everything you say. So yeah, I just want to keep working. Now it's like as long as I can keep working and be a working actor, steady. That's all I really uh, want out of this. Support
Right.
my family.
Outstanding. So, you as a father, as a man, your role in the family, what do you believe, your responsibility is, or every man's responsibility?
Yeah, I think it's a balance
Okay.
between being a provider and setting an example for your kids, how you handle adversity,
Mhm.
how you handle conflict, uh, how you treat others. I think all of that is wrapped up in fatherhood. It's not just guy that goes to work every day and then comes home and retires to his study, and smokes a pipe and doesn't want to deal with his kids. I think it's a balancing act, and I think it's really important to connect with your kids and show them the difficulties that you encounter and help them deal with the difficulties that they encounter, especially growing up when something happens and you're like, it's the end of the world to them. And every time they have a problem now and they say, it's like, oh, this happened or whatever. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to say? He's like, it's a drop in the bucket. I'm like, it's a drop in the bucket. It's like this problem
Yeah.
right here that you're dealing with a year from now, it's not going to be that important. So,
Exactly.
and God's not going to give you everything, every problem you have, um, is preparing for something else. You know what I mean? It's preparing you for the next, to persevere for whatever comes next. So it's important to trust, that guidance, and that's what I try to impart on them.
Yeah. See, now, did you ever have somebody for you to turn to, like, relationships, as far as relationship with your own father? Was that
It it wasn't great. My dad died when I was 16.
okay?
He had cancer. He was probably an alcoholic. I don't think
Mhm.
he ever, he may have gone to a handful of AA meetings. I don't know. Um, but he had his own issues, and the thing about him was he tried really hard. He was a provider. He went to work every day to a job that he probably didn't, wasn't the best job, and we
Right.
didn't have much, you know, so money was a big deal for him. Um, and but I always remember him really putting forth the effort. He was always giving effort. Anytime I was going through something, I just remember him coming
Mhm.
in the room and telling me, "Look, it's like don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that." And he, sometimes he would fly off the handle for something so mundane. We spent too much money on a shirt. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he would just lose it. And then he would come in later and apologize. Things we were careless. We were kids. So,
Yeah.
we never got the bike that was at the store. We got the bike that they shipped to you that you had to build because that was cheaper. And my
Right.
older brother was the brains of the family, so he's the one who put it together. But and always made sure we had a bat, we had a glove, we had whatever equipment. He was always coaching. He was always coaching our
Yeah.
teams. Always asking us if we wanted to go play catch. So all
Right.
the things that he gave in the ways that he knew how. Um, but if we left that bat on the field and then went home and forgot about it and it got stolen, it was trouble. It was a problem.
Right.
So I just remember us going back to the field with one of the other coaches and my dad just laying into us for leaving this bat, and the other coach was like, "Joe, it's just a bat," you know.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, Dad, it's just a bat."
Yeah.
But however much bats cost back then, probably 20, $30, but that was a lot of money for him. Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a great relationship. You know, we tried. Plus, I was a weird kid. You know, I was an actor in the making. I was an artist in the
Right.
making. So he didn't really understand that too much.
I mean, also back in the day, kid there weren't the same family dynamics as we have now,
Right.
where parents really talk to their kids, and that's something, even something I grew up with. My parents would, kids were seen and not heard. I mean, my parents were providers. Which a today I never went without. I was never hungry. I never didn't have clothes. They weren't always the best clothes, but I went to school fully dressed. I had all the supplies that I needed.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I definitely understand that. Um, as as men, we've evolved quite a bit. We're trying to we're trying to fix relationships that we had with our dads, be better with our own kids. I'm sorry you lost your dad at an early age. My stepdad's been the only father that I've ever known. We we don't we have a pretty good relationship. He's not the emotional hug you, I love you type guy. He's more the walk by you, slapping the head, like, hey, how you doing?
That
Annoy the
means the
hell out of you
world.
type.
That slapping the head
Yeah,
just, oh, Dad.
yeah. My mother-in-law used to tell me, "Man, you are so much like your dad. You just play so damn much." I'm like, "Huh, how's that?" But, he's, imparted some things on me, you know, but, man, like, I think about fatherhood, man, and how much it's changed and how much, men we need more, like, we can't win in the
Yeah.
sense that either if you're a stay-at-home father, you know, you're not man enough.
Right.
If you work too much, you're not involved enough. And I haven't found a, a happy median for men, where, hey, you just appreciate it for being there. I've learned that your presence is everything, you know,
Yeah.
more so than anything you can provide. And yet, as men, we are still struggling somehow. And I, I don't know how to,
Yeah, it's a
what,
weird time, man. It's especially with, with everybody has an opinion on everything,
yes,
and a lot of buzzwords, it's like everybody talks about misogyny. Um,
yeah,
but misandry is just as prevalent, if not more,
right.
it's all over the place. We just don't talk about it because
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not what men do usually. It's like, but it's everywhere. And it's like you hear people complain about men, toxic masculinity, and all this kind of stuff, and how bad men are, how useless men are. And I hear that, and I'm like, that's bullshit. But that
Yeah,
12-year-old or that 16-year-old boy that's hearing that, it's like you're influencing him as well, and I
yeah.
tell you, I try to tell people, there's a lot of great men out there, and really good men are getting really tired of hearing that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But we're trying to do our best to do the right thing, and be a protector and be a provider and do all these things, and it's still not enough. We're
yeah,
still
yeah.
hearing that.
Getting drugged get
Yeah,
getting drugged through the mud.
yeah,
I've watched people post things about, their husband, "Oh, he's so this, he's so that," and you look through the comments and it's a ter don't get yourself into looking at social media too much because it
yeah,
is, oh my, it is a rabbit hole that I try not to go down. But I see these things, I'm like, okay, you wonder why, men are, they just take a step back or, they feel so unappreciated. I mean, hell, man, Father's Day, is ranked behind like Halloween shit, you know,
yeah,
and a freak, Easter and that,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Yeah,
it's so
you have different holidays. You know uh I think Pride Month is the same month as Men's Mental Health Month. But we don't hear about Men's Mental Health Month. You know what I mean? It's you just don't hear about it.
okay. So where were we? Ladies and gentlemen, you guys don't know this, but we had some technical difficulties. But Dave is back in the studio, and we're gonna finish the bad boy up.
Let's do it.
All right. So again, we were talking about, men and their responsibilities, with their kids and that. Where do we go next, Dave? You know,
Yeah. I mean, good question. I think you and I are probably on the right track.
okay,
We have good intentions, we have good hearts, and we're just trying to do our best. And I think everybody did that. We'd be all right. It's
right.
like just that there's four things that I try to I try to impart. I try to tell myself to do
Mhm,
every day, and I think if everybody did this, the world would work a lot smoother. Wouldn't be as much conflict, and it's be patient, be kind, be brave, and be rational. I think there are a lot of people that aren't necessarily kind. They don't have other people's best interest. They have the dollar more in mind than
right,
the well being of people. A lot of people in government, they're not real concerned with if we're gonna take care of certain groups of people or anything like that. They're just all worried about, you know, not to get into politics, but just getting back into office,
right,
tell us what we want to hear. That's
right.
across the board.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
I
I
think
just,
that to your point, I was thinking, just even being kind, we don't know what other people are going through, and I'm talking men specifically. You don't know what the next guy's going through, you know, and if we would just take a second to try to understand somebody or understand, if fathers even just if people took a second to understand what this man might be going through emotionally, the weight that he is carrying, we could probably solve a lot of issues just by understanding each other better.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm guilty of that too. It's like, if there's a confrontation,
Yes.
my first thought is, be on guard or attack or,
Right.
not, talk it out and try to understand where that person's coming from because just a defense mechanism. It's like I have to be, it's like I have a hard time going to football games with my family,
Right.
especially when we're the opposing fans. It's like they're having a good time. They're not worried about
Yeah.
anything. And I'm like, I'm constantly uh my head's on a swivel and I'm making sure my family's safe. I'm making sure nobody's
As a
disrespecting
father,
them.
that
Um
is a
so
right
it's
there.
and I have a really hard time having fun in those environments. Um
Yeah.
but and just people in general, it's like if somebody's acting a certain way, um, first thing you want to do is tell them that they're doing something wrong or accuse them of something instead of trying to understand their point of view and try to
Right.
understand why they're acting the way they're acting and how their day's been going or how their life what got them to that point. So yeah, I mean it's they're certainly not doing that. They're certainly not trying to understand what's happening around them. They're just being a jerk. So
Right.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah, we're most time people are looking to respond versus understand, and I think if, we spend a little more time just looking to understand, we would definitely spend more time or less time rather arguing, you
yeah,
know? With you and your career, as a father, you've been doing this for a long time. At the end of your life, what's the one thing you want your kids to say about you?
yeah. I think obviously the career is kind of secondary. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, I think about that sometimes, like just how I'm viewed, what's my legacy um, as a whole, with just my interaction with humanity as a whole. But for my
Right.
kids, I think I want them to be proud of the fact that I pursued something that's you know, not the norm. I kind of went after a dream and I was able to accomplish a lot of that. Um, and with career, with family, with personal issues, mental health, any of that, um, I was able to kind of persevere.
Yeah.
Perseverance is something that's that grit. That's just something that um, I was able to overcome. I was able to meet problems head on and try to solve them, and not in the best way possible sometimes, but somehow. And I asked for help. I reached out to people, um, and I think that's the big thing. I think how you treat people, and that's the biggest legacy I want the people to know, and what my kids to know me for is that he treated people kindly. He treated people with respect, um, and tried to help whenever he could. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like didn't want anything in return. Just if somebody needs something, try to help them out. So um, yeah, I think that's a pretty good legacy.
Outstanding. So now give you one more. If your kids were going to describe you in one word, what would you think that would be?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that they would, like mention kindness and love and funny. I'm a really, really, really funny guy, especially with my family.
Yeah.
Um, but I think perseverance is a big one. You know,
Okay.
like anytime I tell them, how to handle their problems, it's like it's just preparing you for to anytime you're going through something, it's preparing you to be something great. You know what I mean? So it's all of that is preparation. So yeah,
Yes.
I think perseverance. Yeah, dad persevered.
Yeah. Outstanding. Dave, hey, thank you for coming back on, finishing up with me. Listen, I would love to do this again with you. Hey, I also noticed that you just finished up a series, His and Hers.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
See,
the one.
hey, yeah, I'm gonna check it out today. I'm I'm a TV guy, you know. I like to go chill at the house,
Yeah, I mean, it
barbecue.
was a really it was a really highly rated show. It was like number one on Netflix for a while.
Okay,
A lot of people watched it in one sitting, so it's a limited
okay.
series. So it's like 6 episodes.
Yeah, I
So
hate the okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, I hate the limited series because there's so it's the a show, you know, draws you in, it's so good, you want more, but like, yeah, and it's a limited series. You're like, "What?"
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I
People are like,
invested some time.
is there going to be a season two? I'm like, did you watch the first season? It's like it pretty much resolves itself, at
Right.
the end there. But no, a lot of people were blown away by the ending and the surprise twists and turns that are happening. So got to mix it up with John Bernthal and
Yeah.
Tessa Thompson. So yeah, that was amazing. Hanging out with him,
Yeah,
just talking and shooting the shit and talking about our kids and you know uh, both our kids are athletes. His kid is like he's like 12 years old or something like that, and he's got like the passing record in football for his age group in California.
really.
So it's
Holy
like,
crap.
yeah, it's like all right. It's like, well, my son plays rugby, so it's yeah, is
Hey,
he's
don't sleep on rugby, man. Listen, uh, well, listen, I played football with some rugby guys, okay? Those are the most solid tackling mother effers you will
oh
ever run
yeah,
into. Okay?
yeah.
Do not come up against a rugby guy,
Yeah,
okay?
we were more worried about him starting to play rugby,
Yeah,
and of course he played the whole football season and then started playing rugby and blew his knee out at practice.
right,
But it wasn't any contact; it was just a fluke thing. He landed on it
right,
wrong. But he's almost fully recovered from that, and he's been going to rugby non-contact rugby practices at A&M.
okay,
So he wants to his roommate next year and is one of his best friends from high school is also playing on the club team at A&M.
okay.
So he's gonna join that and yeah, it's all that head impact in football is worse than
In
the way
rugby,
they
yeah,
tackle in rugby. But talk about a
bro.
fun sport to watch, man.
Yeah, yeah, I've
It's a
watched
lot
it
of
a few
fun.
times, and I can tell you, yeah, rugby is, something interesting. We, uh we actually tried to bring a guy out to, well, you know what? I'll save that for another day, but, hey, let me tell you, Dave, you have been a phenomenal guest, man.
Thank
I
you, thank you.
not what I thought at all, you know, I'm like, "Man, I feel like, you know, this little itty bitty person, you know, having this conversation with this guy," and, you know, I've felt this entire time like I was talking to an old friend, you know, like we could sit out on the back porch, you know, have a well, have some non-alcoholic drinks
There you
and
go.
barbecue, you know,
Yeah.
and we just have the time of our lives, man.
Yeah,
So,
I enjoyed
uh,
it, man. This is one of the more enjoyable pods that I've done,
thank you.
and much respect to you, and thank you for your service and all
Hey,
that. Always
absolutely. It's been a
always love
privilege.
to. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So, Dave, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Maldonado, right? Did I get it right this time?
You got it.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, that's it for the Father Talks podcast, everybody. Thank you very much. Dave, have a blessed day. Take care of your family. God bless. And I'm wishing you much fortune in the future.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Take care.